in across many seas, the Atlantic and the Pacific, Eva Cholakova, who probably never thought I was going to be able to pronounce her name properly. How did I do?
Good, actually. That's my last name.
Who is from the former Eastern Europe, who is now living in the Pacific area in Hawaii, in Oahu, where she is the Bulgarian queen of volleyball in the Honolulu area. And she's been paying her dues since she was a little girl, working in athletics, to athletic parents who were chill. They were kind of aloha back in the 70s when she was growing up in the 80s. And now she's living aloha, and she's putting back in by being nice to her parents. Aren't you nice to your parents?
I'm so nice to my parents. That's why they send me on the other side of the world.
So speaking of athletes, now we normally start out with somebody's life, but I think one of the coolest stories is your mom, when she came to Oahu, doesn't speak English, correct?
No.
And she's a former Bulgarian national volleyball player on the team.
Yes,
and she was in her
70s and the 80s. So
70s and 80s. So was she in her 50s or 60s when she came and played some beach volleyball with you guys?
60s, I think. She was 60. In her late 60s.
Late 60s. So she looks just like a normal person going to get groceries or something right now, right?
Oh yeah, by all means. I mean, she's super fit. She's a little bit heavier than what she was when she was competing. But she's super fit and we peppered and
so you brought her out there, and what did people think of your mom?
What did I think of my mom? Well, I literally just brought her around with my friends, so they just thought that's my mom. That's all. I mean,
what did they think when they saw your mom digging for shots and setting shots and stuff?
Well, they wouldn't know who she is, so I don't know what they thought about it. But they're older players that are currently in their 60s and even 70s that are still playing. Beach volleyball is a sport that you can play. I mean, the level will go down and it's hard on the body, but you can play way easily in your 50s, 60s, even 70s. There are a couple of players here at Queens that are older generation and they still play and play on the net, actually. So that's a lot. Yeah.
So let's bring your mom back to when she was still competing and still playing, and then all of a sudden you popped out. What did they do with you when you were a little kid? When the first time did they what was the first year they handed a ball to you?
Oh, I was probably shorter than the ball. I don't know. We always had volleyballs, like for volleyball and basketballs at home, because my mom was a volleyball player, my dad was a basketball player, and both of them are either coaching or managing teams later on. So it was just one room, like a closet, walk-in closet, was like full of athletic equipment. I thought that all the kids had that, actually, but they didn't. I thought everybody had that at home.
So it was normal for you to be around people who were in constant movement, going to practices, going to games, and I'm sure you tagged along for a lot of that stuff.
Oh yeah, by all means. I mean, I grew up in the gym basically. I didn't have I guess we didn't have a babysitter at the time. I always joke about it because other kids, they would like spend time with their grandparents. I also spent time with my grandparents, but I was mostly in training camps with anybody from like junior club teams that my mom was coaching to professional men's basketball teams that my dad was managing. So I grew up around athletics, and as far as I can remember, it was always something going on in the weekends that we have to go see that game or play that game or be around that practice. Or I remember when my mom was still playing, she was serving, I guess, and at that time my dad had just let me go from his lap or somewhere where I was sitting in the gym, and it was in a newspaper. The next whatever day, it was in a newspaper. My mom's trying to serve the ball in the court, and then I'm grabbing her knees, so she's putting her knee down, and then to serve the ball.
So you wanted to be front and center, maybe be part of the team, even when we were just barely crawling, moving to walk.
I remember clearly, like my best friends were the other kids of my mom's teammates, their kids. So I grew up there. Yeah, I grew up in that environment. It was definitely in my childhood. So
What did you think you liked most as a little kid? Being part of a team or showing people what you could do or laughing with everybody? What do you think your favorite part? What drew you to that?
to be part of a team,
Well, what
or
drew you to wanting to move your body like your parents did in a team setting?
oh, in a team setting. Why did I choose volleyball, you mean, or a team
Yeah,
sport like?
just athletics. What made you want to be like an athlete and be part of a team?
Um, I never really thought about that. I have to choose to be part of a team. It just I've always been like part of my mom's and my dad's team, so it wasn't even a choice. It was more of a that was just the direction. That was just where I was going. So I didn't even think about it, like if I have to choose or not. It just that was the natural path for me.
A natural
Like
progression. Yeah.
the natural progression, yeah. So if for example, if your parents are from two different countries, they speak two languages. My cousin right now, she's married to someone in the Netherlands. So her kids literally speak three languages. They speak English, Dutch, and Bulgarian. So it's the natural progression. You grow up in an environment where you hear three languages. Of course, they're gonna speak three languages. And that's how I was like, oh, of course you're gonna know how to run, how to swim, how to shoot basketball, and how to play volleyball. This is just the natural way that we grow up. So I never really asked myself, why did I want to join a team? I think I was like 11 or 12 when I started with a club team
If
training.
if you had to look back and think back about your parents, there was a lot of stress in Eastern Europe and the world in the 80s, correct? And maybe a lot of pressure for people to perform. Did you sense any of that? That their career and their playing and their coaching depended on their performance and maybe winning in the events that they attended?
I'm not sure what the question is, but if you're referring to the Iron Wall and the falling of communism and the perestroika, this happened in 1989. At that time, I was 9 years old. I remember exactly what happened on the street, and I was on my dad's shoulders marching the streets and being part of it. But it really, the difference came in the 90s, not in the 80s. So in the 90s was the first time when the first economic crisis happened, the first devaluation of the Bulgarian currency happened. So it was like inflation, financial system crash, political system crash, a lot of mafia on the street. So, but all this happened in the 90s, and it was exactly when I started playing volleyball. And my mom was already coaching. My dad was, I think he wasn't managing yet, but he was also involved in some teams, basketball teams. So I can't remember personally if they have experienced any kind of pressure. It was just pressure all over, survival type of pressure, political turmoil. So yeah, Eastern Europe at that time. But Bulgaria had it pretty easy. We didn't have a civil war comparing to like Romania or the war in Yugoslavia. Other countries had it a lot harder than us. We kind of peacefully, switched from communism to democracy, I guess, which at this time, I don't believe anything anymore. Well, but we'll talk about next week if you want.
Ask me if I can perform under pressure.
Can you perform under pressure?
No, but I can try Bohemian Rhapsody.
Bohemian Rhapsody? Queen? I don't get it.
Yeah, it's a Queen joke going around right now. Under pressure. Dun, dun, dun,
Oh,
dun,
that's
dun,
right.
dun. Dun,
Yeah,
dun, 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 dun.
yeah, you can play the Bohemian Rhapsody. Yeah. Oh, performing under pressure. This is the first thing an athlete learns. I mean, you don't even have to be 13 to know. You either know or you don't know. So we don't need
So
the book.
let's say that your parents were raising you and you're 4, 5, 6, 7. Somewhere along the way that you just picked up dolls and doll houses and wanted to do makeup later on and you weren't into sports. How do you think they would have handled that?
I never did makeup. To this day, I don't wear makeup. Have you seen me with makeup? I look ridiculous. I don't know how to makeup. You kind of lose some things when you're an athlete. You give up time and the time to like put makeup or to do your hair. And I was in college when one of my teammates didn't straighten my hair, and I was like, wow, you can actually straighten your hair. Like there's a curling iron that actually straightens your hair. So I'm not really able to answer that question because I never really picked up the makeup. And I think I had Barbie dolls at some point, but it was when I was 6 or 7.
I think the point is if you chose a different path than they did, would they have been okay with that? Like, were they chill parents that?
By all means, yeah.
Yeah.
They would have been okay. Of course, they've always supported me. They've always, I decided all of a sudden I was 19 and I was like, oh, I'm going to America. I'm going to play volleyball there. So they fully supported me, even though I could have stayed and played in any professional club in Europe closer to them. But I was like, no, I need a scholarship. I want to study. So they supported every decision of mine. Even the ones that later on I proved that were not very successful and I shouldn't have made, they still supported it.
So are you going to take some of those parenting lessons and coaching lessons you got from your parents if you ever have kids? Are you going to try to use some of those strategies?
By all means, yes. By all means, yes. Definitely, I will. My parents, yeah, I grew up in a very healthy environment. I'm blessed to have it because I currently realize how few of my friends and my close friends here had two parents in the household, or their parents stayed married for their lives. My parents have been married for what now, more than 40 years. So it's a blessing for them and for me to grow up in a place like that. And even though we were poor in Eastern Europe, we didn't have a lot of opportunities and we didn't have the conditions that normally kids would have here. The lessons learned and the way that things happened for me later on is a proven is a proof that their parenting skills have been good.
All right, now I'm going to ask you about the beauty of athletics. So if we compare an athlete running and jumping and shooting and diving, let's say, to an animal. So we've got a lion, and where the videos show the lions in slow motion, just beautifully running, even when they walk with their four legs, a horse, an antelope, monkeys climbing, all these things are just beautiful to watch. Is that enough for people like you just watching other athletes? Is that enough to maybe excite you and to watch the beauty, or do you have to see the competition? Do you have to see sometimes the brutality of the competition to excite your psyche as a viewer and as an athlete?
Can you repeat the question again, but make it shorter?
Sure. So there's beauty in athleticism.
In athleticism, yeah.
And there's beauty in animals running. In competitive sports, we have to have a winner and a loser. And oftentimes it's like winning at all costs, like Lance Armstrong and Tiger Woods, et cetera. It's like this brutal competition where it's like a Spartan victory almost, or a loss. Does it have to be that way, or can people just enjoy, even like a coach like you and a player, just the beauty in athletics and movement and the game of the performance without concentrating so much on the victory and keeping one's job as a coach because of victory?
Oh yeah, by all means, athletics and sports is not only to win. As a matter of fact, I learned one of the first things that I remember hearing my parents teaching me as of how the athletics works is that you have to learn how to lose in order to win, in order to know how to win. So it's not always just about winning, just about victory, just about the W. Sometimes the beauty of athletics is that, the last one in a race is still a very athletic person. Look at the sprinters on Olympic Games. Look at the jumpers or the hurdlers. They're all, it's a split second that, separates them from the gold, but they're all very athletic and very pleasant to look. And it's the same in beach volleyball and the competitions that I've been. And every team from the top 100 in the world would be there. but each one of us is super athletic in our own way to be able to move on the court and to dive and to spike and to jump and jump surf and all that. You have to be at a level which is pleasant to be looked at, for someone to watch it. So yeah, there's always a winner and there's always the first team that will qualify, as well as any other sport. But to me, especially at that moment of my life, it's not just about the winning. And I try to teach that the kids that I'm coaching now, that experiencing competition and being in the event and training for the event and looking at other teams competing and you being part of it is just as valuable as just to win it.
And having fun in the whole camaraderie of the practice and improving and teaching each other things that Ava taught us this, or she worked with me on this, maybe you should try this.
Yeah, by all means. I mean, they're not rules, they're not set rules or anything, but I think most of the coaches are going to agree that there is not a practice without a mistake. So you always make a mistake. It doesn't matter, what would it be in any sport. I've never had a practice without mistake. I've always made mistakes, and that's one of the things that I teach my kids is that it's okay to make a mistake. And current generation, they are so closely surveillance, like they're so closely watched by their social media profiles, by their peers, by everything that's happening in their life, that they always want to be perfect. They always want to put a filter so they look, with these big eyes and alien looking features and polished skin and all that. It's the sense of like being perfect is not a real sense, and we always make mistakes, and it's always a question of learning the lesson. And the athletics is a great school to teach you that. So yeah, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to win all the time. You just have to get up and keep going if you lose.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure, it seems, on this excessive ability, excessive look. Everyone has to look their best at all time. I mean, people now grew up in an era of video and cameras everywhere and social media everywhere. When I grew up, nobody had cell phones, and we talked on the phone, and we didn't yak on the phone for hours. We didn't have text. We talked to make an appointment to go see the other person, and sometimes we didn't even do that. We just got on our bike and drove over to our friend's house to see if they were there, and if their mom told us no, they're over at another friend's house, then we'd take our bike and go over there. And it was just like a wandering lifestyle, which was kind of fun because you're always discovering. And then when you finally see each other, it's this big deal. It's not like you've been texting the whole time knowing exactly where the other person was.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, by the way, I kept receiving text messages while we were talking. My phone was like ding, ding, ding. So yeah, we are so addicted to text messages and to like everything else that's going on.
So I'll bring the viewers up to speed on how this interview came about. So I sent out an email about my soon-to-be released book called "Are You Raising or Just Raising a Child Athlete?" with a question mark at the end. Things you need to know. And I was looking for people to interview, and Ava responded. I'll read a little bit of what Ava said. I love the title of your book. And yes, if you need perspective on the Eastern European parenting of an athlete, you can have me to interview. And I'll share what it was like to be raised as an athlete by two professional athletes, mom and dad, and how much nutrition, exercising, proper regimen, coaching, access to good trainers, etc., how important that was in my specific athletic life and competition, and what's best for the development of any kid at any stage. So maybe share one or 2 points that are in your memory of things that worked really well for you in your development as an athlete, still trying to have fun, still doing your school and helping out with your family and your grandma. What are some of the things that were like key steps in your athletic progress?
When I was growing up or right now?
Growing up.
Oh, when I was growing up. The first and the foremost, and this is since I was born, was nutrition. Both my parents being athletes, knowing how important it is to eat right and to have good food. They always made me aware of what has been cooked right now. Like why am I supposed to be eating that, even if I don't like to eat I don't know what, spinach and feta cheese or whatever they give me. They'll tell me, no, this will make you strong. Now eat your salad, eat your vegetables. And as a matter of fact, even though Bulgarian kitchen is very much is blasted with meat and red meat and all kinds of, our meat at that time in the 80s and 90s was a lot better quality than most of the rest of the Europe and currently even the world. But I'm beyond grateful that I knew nutrition since I was young, and this was never, it was never an issue throughout my career. I knew what to feed myself with, and I looked at it as a fuel, as opposed to some kind of an addiction, to eating. Um, so that nutrition is the first thing, and then I was probably like 4. We used to have this in Eastern Europe, and the viewers from Eastern Europe or from Bulgaria, particularly born in the 80s, I know they're gonna remember those. But we used to have kind of like a challenge, family challenges many times a year, and it was on the weekend, and it was called Mama Tatku Yas. So in English, this would be mom, dad, and me. It's like a competition for family. So you go with your family, and if you have brothers and sisters, them too. And then you all go to like the local stadium, like the local high school stadium or the local club stadium, and then they make you run, do push-ups, do sit-ups, and I can't remember what was the other thing, but like we all do it together, and then you get points. So like a marathon running, and then you get points. And I remember that like in the times when we didn't have volleyball or basketball games to go to, it was always something like that. And I was at some point I was like, oh, can we not go to that thing like this Saturday and Sunday? Because my friends will go to like the river, or they'll go fishing, they'll go do other things with their families. We always had to go somewhere and train and do something. So yeah, I remember growing up around like a lot of exercise, a lot of outdoor activities, a lot of hiking. We used to hike up the mountain. Sea coast, when we were at the sea coast, my dad would like literally throw me in the water, and I learned how to swim. I was probably like 2, 3. Then I was like 6 or 7 in the winter. We'll go to the mountains, and then I knew how to ski. I was probably 6 when I knew how to ski. And yeah, and that's what he did. He just put the ski on me, and then put me on the how do you call that? The lift?
The lift.
Yeah.
The ski lift.
Ski lift in Bansku. It was like one of the biggest resorts in Bulgaria. And then I had that uncle with me and another friend of mine. And then they lifted us to the top of the mountain, like the hardest possible route to go down. It took us 4 hours. My dad was like, just go there and come back down. When you come back down, you're going to know how to ski. So that's exactly what happened. But it's like literally like it's down the hill. Big like wall. They call it the wall.
So at 6 or 7, your fear factor might have been low if you were able to make it down that steep slope.
Oh yeah, by all means, yeah. Well, you were scared. You know how that looks like. But when you were there, and then all you see is like straight down like that, you literally see a wall, and you have to make your way somehow down. No fear factor after that. You're like, okay, gravity. I didn't take that class, but apparently there's gravity, so you just go and do it. Yeah, but yeah. And then another thing that I remember, it was mostly when I was in my teenage years. I always had an access to great coaches and great athletic trainers and recovery. And I knew from my mom and dad, so my mom was still competing up until I was first or second grade in school. So I remember, going to training camps with her, growing up in the gym while she had her volleyball practice. She was still a player, not a coach. And I knew from early age that once a week you have to go to like a recovery. And what like normally teams in Bulgaria, I bet it's like Eastern Europe, most of the Eastern Europe is the same. One day out of the week of double training, you have a day that you're gonna train a little longer. You're gonna do like whatever endurance or weights and volleyball, and then you're gonna go to like a spa center where you're gonna go to a sauna or a steam room. Get like a massage, just get your body fixed so that you can keep going. So just that notion that it's not just training up until you're exhausted, but you also have to recover and reset your system. is very valuable for a growing athlete and for collegiate athlete, and later, of course, professional athletes. They learn that from, here in America, you can learn that from your college athletic trainers, and you kind of figure out things, or professionals. But it's not up until you start feeling your body falling apart you actually appreciate the recuperation, the massage, the spa, the stretching, the yoga, the breathing, all the components that you actually need to be successful as an athlete. And at that time, you could have learned that only if you had it at home, like I did. So I was, blessed to have it, like, easy access to, like, trainers, to, like, masseuse therapists, to, if I would get hurt or if I would sprain my ankle, my dad and my mom, they knew who to take me to so that it can be fixed 100% and I can be, straight up coming up. I mean, my other teammates wouldn't be, I guess that progressive. And I also took the injuries as part of sports. It was never like panicking. It was never like, okay, it hurts, so you're not, yeah, you're gonna get hurt. Okay, welcome. So it was never, it was never a big deal. So pain management, but that's about it. So nutrition and trainers, the access to trainers, constant exercise, outdoor activities. I knew how to swim, how to run properly at a very early age. So that's the foundation of any kid. Recuperation.
Did you do hanging exercises when you were growing up and moving into your very tall body?
Hanging exercises? No, I don't remember us doing it.
Like your spine, lengthening your spine, like chin-ups and leg lifts when you're on a bar?
No, but we always, the gyms, I guess the gym, the part of kind of like a gym with weights next to the volleyball gym, we always had those kind of like a wall that it looks like it's like a wall with many places where you can hang on, right? So, and I don't know what the name of it. I gotta Google it.
Is it for climbing? One of those climbing walls?
Not a climbing wall. It's a wall where it's literally like a stairs, but the stairs are made out of wooden sticks. So it's like a wooden sticks.
Oh,
like
I know those things.
Yeah. Monkey bar, the one that we have here at Kapilani Park.
Yeah.
The monkey bar, but instead of being like that, the monkey bar is vertical.
Okay.
So it's like that. So I mean, that's the hanging part of any exercise. It's kind of like it's present in our gym. So you could hang there and do sit-ups, with your legs up and then down. So, but yeah.
So I do, as I mentioned to you before, tennis ball rolling every morning. And when I didn't do that, like 3 summers ago, I wound up going into the physical therapist in Germany where I was living, and they started working on me, and they said, you're tight in the glutes, you're tight in the hips. And they said, you should be doing some rolling. And I said, well, it's interesting. I stopped doing the rolling like 4 days ago because I was doing some hiking and some other stuff away from where I have my normal routine. And I was out of town. And they said, well, go back to doing your normal routine. Take those tennis balls with you. And that was 3 years ago. I haven't missed maybe one day every 40 days of the tennis ball rolling, and then the foam rolling when I'm not traveling. I've got a foam roller, and that stuff keeps me. I mean, I like physical therapy and chiropractics, but I'd rather go there for like maintenance rather than when I'm kind of messing myself up, where everything's tight and my hips are pulling my spine out of position and my back hurts. So I once those guys told me that, and I realized, because when you're lying on a table and they're working on you, you've got 20 minutes or so of them talking to you, and you can think about yourself and your own health. You're not just rushing. So that gave me that routine is, hey, if I miss, I'm gonna be going through problems. So have you ever come to that realization where if you don't take care of yourself, this happens? Like if you miss X, Y happens?
Oh yeah, by all means, yeah. But this is just logical, isn't it? Like if you don't wash your hands, you're gonna end up eating with dirty hands. If you don't warm up, then you most likely you're gonna be in pain. If you don't stretch after you go for a jog, then you're gonna be in pain. So there are causes and effects. But you're actually talking about fascia, and you're talking about fascia self-release. So it's a SMR. So it's a self manual release, self-release with your balls. I do fascia therapy for the past 3.5 years now. Look what my floor looks like. I'll show you. See the rollers?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The one on the right hand, like right here. Wait, where is it? Right here. This is my jewelries. I'm making jewelries, I told you. That's my little shop there. But the rest is rollers. These are all my rollers, and if I don't roll, I can feel it. So maintenance and specifically fascia therapy is a mind-blowing
it's connected all over the body, and it's something that became really popular over the last 10 years, and it's getting results. So people are thinking, muscles, nerves, moving joints, all these things, great, that's all good, but don't overlook the fascia and those foam rollers.
Right now, you're literally preaching to the choir. I've been doing this. I'm on the front line of fascia. I'm telling you. I work with a man who's here in Honolulu, physical trainer, doing annual fascia release. I don't know. Did I send you to him when you were here?
Yeah, you connected me with him. I haven't met him yet, but I hope to.
Yeah, when you come here, just because this completely it is the newest physical training. That's not activity; it's therapy. So physical training,
modality and therapy.
Modality or therapy, yeah. And then you have to know how to roll. So it's a rolling sequence for every part of your body. There are different sizes rollers that you use for different places, and it's mind blowing. I don't know. Last year it was a tournament, so I stopped competing in, what was it, 2013 was my last tournament.
On your 2-on-2 beach volleyball circuit.
Yeah, so 2-on-2. Yeah, so my last world tour circuit was in 2012, and my last small tournament in Europe, in Greece, was in 2013, the summer of 2013. So me and my partner at that time, that was our last event altogether, both for us. We retired after that. And then last year, and so 2019, so after 5 years, not playing, not competing, training with the kids that I coach and HPU that I coach here for 3 years. So as much as I've trained with my athletes and just played for fun, then I played a tournament here, and I only, sign up, and I wanted to play a tournament just to test the fascia therapy. So the 5-6 months prior to that tournament, I started working 3 times a week with my trainer here, and rolling every night.
And you were going to the gym pretty regularly, also, correct?
Yeah, and I go to the gym. So that's what I was doing, going to the gym, coaching. So coaching is mostly hitting the ball. You know what I do when I coach. It's not a lot of playing. So I went to play a tournament without knowing my partner. I never met my partner. The day of the tournament, I was like, hey, I'm here and here. Where are you? It was a local college girl from UH that her coach gave me her name. Oh, you should play with her. She needs a partner. So I went. We won the tournament, and I did not crump. I didn't crump. I did not crump. I was rolling with my rollers between the games, and there were two other teams with like older players like me. So last year I was 39. I'm 40 now. So at that tournament, there was like another AVP, ex-AVP player. So AVP is a professional league in America. And then actually 2 of them. So both of them were playing AVP. So both of their teams, they crumped because it's 8 or 9 games for one day only. And they're, even if they're not super competitive games, you still have to move, you still have to run around and jump and hit. So it's a lot on the body. I did not crump. After that, I completed both fascia therapy and then specifically manual fascia. It releases the system in a way that the movement of everything that moves in your body. So it's blood flow, blood circulation, lymphatic system, all the chemicals, all the minerals, all the vitamins that you actually need to supply all over your body. It's capable to reach everywhere. So everything is moving. There is no stagnation. There is no ossification. And this is what fascia does. And if you do it properly, if you do it with a modality, with a regimen, with a trainer that knows what's going on, you're free. Your whole body becomes free. Like, think about it. I did not experience not even one cramp. I didn't get out of breath. Nothing. And I was on top of my game. I mean, nobody at the beginning, everybody was serving to me because they were like, "Oh yeah, she's old. She's gonna get tired after the first game." Then I started serving my college. You know, she just graduated, 24-year-old, just graduated, just serving her because I didn't show any, you know, any.
You have good endurance though, don't you, naturally?
Yeah, I mean, I'm healthy naturally, so I have good genes, and I train and I know how to train. So I can't. I mean, I don't know, you know, if it's just the fascia. It's also, you know, the way that I've been taking care of my body throughout my whole life. But fascia definitely made such a difference. It's mind blowing experience. So never lose your balls. Get some hard rollers, because the hard rollers are not foam rollers, right?
I wrote down, because you know, one of my big things is that wellness is king. If you're an athlete and you're unwell, mind, body, or spirit, you can't perform and you're going to be unhappy. And it's very likely when you go into that non-well performance state that you're going to satisfy your inadequacies and your lower feelings for yourself by doing something to bring your brain endorphins up, which typically leads to substance abuse. So very common for athletes to medicate pain historically with alcohol and drugs, not therapy as much as over the last 20 years or so. And it's also, when they retire, it's also very popular, unfortunately, for athletes to stop doing movement, which is the story of my second book, The Aging Athlete. And it's more than 90% stop doing regular physical activity starting the day that they leave their high performance activity. So what do? Well, they become workaholics, they become super moms, or they become super couch potatoes, but they don't go into a balanced sort of a wellness and maintenance modality. And have you seen that with people that you used to play with?
Have I seen them?
Have you seen that they become sedentary and not moving after they retire?
Most of my, well, most of you that I've played with, they're still playing or training. So an older generation, no, I can't say that. I cannot say that. It's probably just in America, but in Eastern Europe, I have teammates that are one of my teammates, she was my setter in my club team in Levski Sofia. She looks like she's on a junior team. That's how good she looks like. Her daughter is college player right now. Her daughter is somewhere here in America, collegiate athlete, setter as well. So I saw a picture of them too. I'm like, wow, you look like you're from your daughter's team. It's not even funny. So it's about how you maintain and what do you know about the body and how do you want to progress. So I think what you said about the drugs and the alcohol, Eastern Europeans, and you probably know about Russia, they drink a lot of vodka, sodas. Eastern Europe, we drink a lot of rakia. So I can't say that we're not like aware of alcohol, and like as athletes, even as athletes, we haven't tried it, but I can definitely I guarantee you, my parents and my parents' teammates are in very good shape. They don't abuse any substance. They've smoked cigarettes because it's popular everywhere around the world. I mean, in Eastern Europe at least, um, at some point. But they're definitely like taking a lot better care of their bodies than the average, the average person their age. So yeah, I don't know, but I think it's your environment where you grow up. So drugs were not very present in Eastern Europe. Drugs were illegal, and
They would have locked people up, correct?
Hmm?
Wouldn't they have locked people up in Bulgaria for being drug users or distributors?
Oh yeah, by all means. But they I hope they do that here too. I mean, if you're a drug distributor, it was never a big pandemic like it is here, and like it was here in the 80s and the 90s. It was never like we had cigarette smokers and alcoholism, which is even worse than some type of drugs that are not as harmful as the nicotine and the alcohol. So yeah, yeah.
I wrote down this little line that relates to wellness, because I think that wellness should be one of our three main things. You can have emphases all over the board in your daily life. But if one of those is wellness, you're going to be well, or at least you're going to have a good chance of being well. So I wrote down, if the daily ritual is to abuse the body, and that could even be sitting all day, a lot of abuse there. If it's to abuse the body, how long do you think the body will last?
Not that long. Yeah, it's all about maintenance. Wellness and health. First, wellness and health, it starts from your understanding about the body as a machine. So if you don't know how to take care of your car, like myself, I don't know where the oil is. I don't know how to change the tires. I have to go. Someone does that. Of course, my car is gonna, eventually deteriorate sooner than if it's someone that knows how to take care of the car and how to change the oil and make sure everything works. So the body's the same way. It's a vehicle, and if we don't know how to take care of it and how to maintain it in a proper way and put the best fuel inside, then eventually it will deteriorate. So maintenance is a huge part of the life of an athlete, and the sooner we figure it out as kids, the sooner we understand that idea that it's not just about training, it's not overtraining, it's always about training and resting and sleeping and nutrition and positive thinking and visualization and all that other things that are crucial for the development of a young athlete. So that's why when I coach, I often say I coach volleyball sometimes, but mostly I coach kids teamwork and resilience and consistency and how to work with each other, how not to give up, how to be persistent, how to be athletes first, and then some kind of volleyball player or whatever else player end up. So
that's a good place to wind down. So the Aloha Spirit, there's a little bit of welcome in the Aloha Spirit. There's a little bit of giving back.
yes.
There's the sense of being good stewards, taking care of your environment, taking care of yourself, which we see a deficiency of in Hawaii amongst the native people. Not a lot of taking care of oneself, unfortunately. If you go back 100 years, you would have seen that a lot more. But their system was compromised by many things, overpopulation, condominiums everywhere, traffic, their sacred burial grounds, built condos on them, all this kind of stuff. So if you had to take what you've learned from growing up in Eastern Europe and then growing up also as a 19-year-old athlete in the deep south of America, where there were, the former slave states, and then all the way over to Hawaii and the Aloha Spirit, how do you think you learned about the Aloha Spirit and fitting in and being kind to other people and yourself along your journey?
Being kind to other people. I grew up with kindness around me, and all I knew that you have to be nice with people and you have to offer the best of you. And so it's just the raising, I guess. But besides, you probably don't know my movement around the world that much, but I've been everywhere. I ended up landing in Alabama like 20 years ago and studying there for 2 years, but I transferred to Long Beach afterwards, and that's where I graduated from Long Beach State. And living in LA is completely different than living in the deep south in Alabama, and completely different than living in Hawaii, even though kind of like the environment is like very beach and surf oriented there as well. South California, but in between I've been everywhere. So what I can tell you about the Aloha Spirit, because I know that this is what you're interested in, it's giving. You don't learn how to give. You will never be satisfied getting. You will never be complete receiving what the universe brings you. And I think about what I've learned about the Aloha Spirit is people are by default their understanding about life is with aloha, with goodness, with beauty and truth and love, and approach life like that. And these are the three things that I'm always committed to: is truth, beauty, and love. And by my personal understanding about the existence of us as species and the existence of life is that love and true love is the lifting of the veil of separation. And if I'm able to see myself in you and to accept you as I would accept me, then that's a true love. And this is what Aloha Spirit is. Aloha Spirit is, welcoming, giving, that gratitude to nature, the gratitude to the islands, to the mana of Hawaii, to life here, and to people that are just coming, like myself. I'm 7 years ago I came to Hawaii, but I've been accepted since day one. Sport, of course, helps a lot, because when you're in a sport and you make friends a lot faster. But it's very welcoming place, and you can feel the Aloha Spirit, especially in hard times like right now, where the rest of the country is under lockdowns and turmoil in the streets, and we still have the beach here, and we can still go grab the board and go surf, and it's 5 minutes away from you live. Anywhere on the island, you can drive not more than what, like, you might have to drive 15 minutes to go to the nearest beach if you're somewhere inland, Mililani or one of those places. But yeah, it's the Aloha Spirit is definitely visible here. Unfortunately, for all the tourists that are coming right now, the tourism is closed. The islands are closed. We do have a 14-day ban of
Quarantine.
So if they come, they have to come for more than 14 days to actually enjoy the islands. So a lot of people choose not to spend 14 days in a hotel because they're really enforcing the rules. People get arrested if they leave their hotel rooms. But so not a lot of tourists right now, but generally speaking, it's Aloha is here. One of the last places on earth, probably. Yeah.
Good. So I'm Sifu Slim, and I've been talking with Eva Chalakova about
say my name right. Cholakova.
Cholakova.
Cholakova, not Chalakova.
Cholakova. Cholokova.
Cholakova.
Cholakova.
Ah, okay. Yeah. The emphasis in a different way, but you can say that, definitely.
And we're talking about raising a child athlete, things you need to know. New book by Sifu Slim. Please take a look on Amazon and download a copy. And please like our video. Please subscribe, and please leave your respectful comments below. And if you need volleyball coaching, you can talk to Ava. I'll have her information, website stuff in the comments below. And hope you guys have a great day in Aloha. Be well in your mind, body, and spirit. And shaka from wherever we are to wherever you are. Aloha.
Totally shaka. Are you getting offline?